Mike Moore Media, the first place to hear Rockingham County news and information.
This program is sponsored by Carpino Investments. On our media line, Jeff Garska, Economic Development Director for the City of Reidsville. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing just great. Well, we've talked about this before, but a little bit more today from you. Everything has changed in the past year. Let's talk about economic development as we move into a post-COVID world. Is there a new normal for you?
Well, we don't know. We've never been in a post-COVID world, so we're not sure. We didn't know what COVID world was going to be like. Everybody was just kind of scrambling, trying to find the right resources to help businesses and our citizens of the United States in a big picture. And some of our small businesses really struggled. Some of our industries were growing. Some were shrinking. So, it was very unprecedented, as you know. And as we come out of it, I would expect things to be a little different, but we really don't know how yet.
So there's still a lot of unknowns, aren't there? Really?
It really is. I mean, it's we don't know how long it's going to take some of these businesses to fully recover. If they do, it could be that post-COVID world still affects some of our smaller businesses. But we hope that now that people are out and moving around and mask mandates for vaccinated people have been lifted and all those kind of things, that, we would certainly hope that there's a lot of pent-up demand for things like retail. We know there's a demand for residential housing, and we've got a couple of things coming down the line that will help address that, which is very exciting. But, we're not sure yet.
Yeah. Well, I know you are always on the go, but COVID certainly has restricted you and impacted you in so many ways, limiting travel and the trade shows you attend and conferences and just all of that, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, even in earlier this year, there's a big retail trade show out in Las Vegas that I've been to a couple of times, and it's a great way to network with retail developers and individual businesses that, are always looking for new locations. And that was really put on hold. I mean, they didn't have it last year. It was virtual, which I'm not sure anybody gets a lot out of at something that large scale. There's another one in Charlotte that had been postponed. All of our statewide economic development conferences were sort of postponed and virtual, and we're actually having our annual conference down at Atlantic Beach this summer, and people are actually going to get to attend. So, but it did affect things. I don't travel as much as I used to around the country calling on companies and site consultants, but when you have a year and a half or more without that face-to-face contact, it's hard to maintain those relationships.
Well, and you've got to get out and do that, meetings with prospects and all of that. Zoom was the hot word this last year for sure, but not the same as face-to-face, is it?
It's not. We've had very limited face-to-face meetings. There were a couple that we deemed important enough to have folks come to City Hall or we go see them, but it was few and far between. And as you know, in really any business, it's just relationships. It's so relationship-driven. You've got to build trust and rapport and prove that what you say you're going to do for somebody, you can actually do. But, yeah, it's Zoom meetings are great, but after a while, you're just itching to get back in person. And I do think, though, some of the virtual meetings, there is a silver lining here where, we don't have to get together every single time to have a committee meeting or a staff meeting or what have you. So I think that, the virtual stuff will actually continue, and if we use it in an efficient, sporadic way, I think it's actually somewhat beneficial.
Sure. Yeah, that is a silver lining, like you mentioned. So how will the approach to marketing and outreach change in the coming year, do you think?
Yeah, again, it obviously put a grinding halt to it when pandemic came. Now we're going to have to sort of test the waters and see how eager our prospects are willing to meet. We had an industry visit yesterday. We had a meeting with the folks at Farmina Pet Foods and their general contractor, and they were obviously here in person from all over the country. They had 3 or 4 locations that folks came in, and those kind of meetings, they're pretty high level, sort of last minute, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. You can't do that virtually. I mean, you just have to sit in a room together and Q&A and constant dialogue, and that's hard to do when you're when you're virtual. But, as far as marketing and our outreach, I think we're just looking forward to getting back to the way we used to do things. But I still think it's still going to be a little different for a while.
Mm-hmm, sure, yeah. Well, I've enjoyed being in some of the newer businesses that have just recently opened in downtown Reidsville, Reidsville Trading Post, and some others. How do you mentioned small business a little bit ago, Jeff. How do you continue to help small businesses? They've really had a lot of challenges.
They have. It's just, a lot of people will say, it's kind of an old adage that small businesses are really the heartbeat of the business world, and that's not unique to Reidsville, and I believe that. When you have small businesses that hire, 2 or 3, 4 people, it really adds up.
Yeah.
We get all the headlines for recruiting or an expansion of hundreds of jobs, and those are important, but the small businesses really are the backbone of any community. And, I think hopefully there will still continue to be some resources available, that it's not just going to be all or nothing. I think there are some unique ways we can hopefully continue to support them through loan money, grant money, what have you. I know some of the folks who got, PPP loans and all those other things, they've got a fairly large window of time to spend the money. So it's not like they had to spend it all at once and now they're, needing more money. So, hopefully there's going to continue to be resources. The best way we can support our small businesses is to shop and eat there.
Mm-hmm.
Our local patrons and visitors, we really need folks to patronize these businesses to keep them viable.
We can never stress those 2 words enough, can we? Shop local. It's so important.
Shop local. You're exactly right. It really is important. And, when you've got good businesses, in your downtown and other areas, we've obviously proven before with hard data that, we attract people from a pretty wide swath of geography that come and spend time in Reidsville to shop and dine and all those other things. So outside money coming in, when people from the outside are shopping local in Reidsville, that's new money coming into the community, but we can't just rely on that to float the economy.
No. Well, you've got so many businesses that have been there long term too. I had lunch last week at Carolina Cafe, as a matter of fact. But look at all of the new, we've talked about this before, all of the new businesses that have opened in this COVID year. Isn't that exciting?
It really is. I mean, things just didn't really slow down. I talked to some of the folks in my business that, build buildings and architects and all these other folks. They constantly tell me, like, Rockingham County and Reidsville have suddenly arrived and are very much on the map, and it's a real hot spot for economic development. So, somehow we were able to navigate it, and through, a stroke of luck, when some of the businesses were still looking to expand, we were right here ready to serve them like we do any other day. Pella Windows is a great example. They've doubled their number of hiring. We at Purina, obviously not in Reidsville, but nearby. Farmina, some of our other local businesses, Albad, their business is growing simply because they have a facility here that makes wet wipes, and those aren't going to go out of style anytime soon. So there are certainly some that have continued to grow. Some have slowed down. We have a Tier 1 automotive supplier here in Henniges Automotive, and, they serve Ford and BMW and a couple other clients. But, I think Ford had a shutdown at one point early on last year, and that put our supplier, at a halt. So a lot of trickle-down effect when things outside of your control happen.
Mm-hmm, sure. Yeah, and I'm thinking just off the top of my head, you got a Biscuitville that opened in the last year, Harbor Freight that's recently opened too. And when you think about those are some big names that have opened.
They really are. I mean, we've got, what I love about when those companies come in, particularly like on the retail sector, when they're brand name, well-known companies, that validates our market a little bit to others who may be thinking about looking here.
Mm-hmm.
They say, well, Biscuitville, Harbor Freight, Tractor Supply, all these other brand name realtors if they've chosen Reidsville and they seem to be making money here, well, maybe it is a viable market. So, we rely on what I would just say sort of third-party validation of this as a hot market.
Sure. You mentioned Tractor Supply. Just a quick word about Team Reidsville and at Tractor Supply, that unveiling last week. That was great.
That's so cool. Folks who haven't driven by it as you're coming in to town on, Business 29, the Freeway Drive, Scale Street intersection, as a lot of people refer to it. It's one of the first things you see when you're sort of coming into town from that direction. When they announced they were coming here, we just thought it would be a cool idea if they would be willing to, kind of let us put a Team Reidsville sign or something like that, on their property. And they thought it was really neat. So it is, we're real proud of it, and I think they are too. And it's a great way to welcome them to Reidsville and make them immediately feel part of the team, and they are. Yeah.
Another great partnership there, that's for sure. Well, a couple of minutes left, Jeff, to kind of sum up, but tell me again about the conference you mentioned earlier this summer.
Well, it's really our North Carolina Economic Developers Association meeting. We have 3 conferences a year, one in the spring, summer, and then in the fall. It's a great way to reconnect with, my peers. You'll learn a lot from other folks and what they're doing and what they see out there. And we're always eager to help each other and share things, even though we compete with one another. It's, we're all in the same boat, hopefully rowing in a similar direction. But
right.
They always have good content. They'll bring in, companies who will talk about how they came to a location decision. There's site consultants who say, here are the things in today's world that are important to our clients as they're choosing locations. So a lot of good information, a lot of good networking, and just excited to get back out in the world and see some people I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, good. Okay. And when is that going to be? When did you say the date on that?
It's June 8, 9, 10, I think, 7, 8, 8,
okay.
9, 10, somewhere in that range.
Coming up soon, yeah.
It is coming soon, yeah.
All right. Good things happening in Reidsville as always. Thank you, Jeff. If someone needs to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Office number 336-347-2307. That will find me directly here at the office. Email's fine. It's the letter J and my last name, GARSTKA, at reidsvillenc.gov. Folks are welcome to reach me for anything they might need, and I'll either help them directly or point them in the right direction. So that's
Jeff,
what we're here for.
Always great to talk to you. Thanks a lot, and all the best to you and Team Reidsville as things begin to open up and people get out and about there. I think we're ready.
I think we're ready. I know people are ready. For the most part, there are probably still people that are going to be a little hesitant. And, one of the things probably our biggest challenge coming out of this is getting people back to work. I think the extended unemployment benefit period was critical for people who lost a job that was totally out of their control. So it was good to be able to help those folks. But now, we've got everybody from small retailers to restaurants to industries who are just clamoring for labor, and they're having a real hard time. So we already know that labor is a big challenge, really nationwide. And here, it'll be interesting to see how people get back into the workforce. There will probably be some that are hesitant, to go to a busy factory or a small office and things like that. We certainly understand that. A lot of remote workers, but shameless plug, I'll just encourage everybody out there in the community, please get vaccinated, follow the science. It appears to be working, and that's ultimately how we're going to get out of this. So go get vaccinated.
Yeah, okay. Jeff, always, thanks again. Have a great week.
You too, Mike. Thanks so much.
Bye. Jeff Garska is Economic Development Director for the City of Reidsville. Always great to talk to him. Our program is sponsored by Carpino Investments, leader of community redevelopment in the Carolina Piedmont region. Exciting things going on in Eden and in Reidsville with Carpino Investments, carpinoinvestments.com. Please check out that website. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for shopping local. We'll mention that one more time. Shop local and support our hometown businesses. And please go to this website, rocketinreidsville.com, for great information.